Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Carl. I am excited about today. If you guys haven't been to the channel, this is a good one to start on. So if you've been here and you're subscribed, welcome back. Thank you for your support. I'm so excited that you're here for this episode. Guys, today we are going to talk about screenshots and how people are doing the AI watermarks, and we're going to kind of cover all of that and what we're doing as a company to kind of get around that. So yeah, let's get into it, guys. So obviously in the industry, we're running into a huge situation with screenshots and watermark removal groups and all of this stuff. I want to be completely transparent with this video. And I'm going to start off with, I'll be completely honest. I personally don't think that this is as big of an issue as what we think it is as a whole. Okay, so with that being said, however, most people didn't think downloading music illegally was going to be a huge problem. 2-3 years after that started, the trend started, people noticed it as more of a normal as opposed to stealing, and next thing you know, music artists are struggling, because of it. And so my point with this is, if we don't stop it before it becomes a problem, by the time it actually becomes a major issue, and I'm not saying it's not for some people, I guarantee you some people it's hurting them drastically. I just don't feel my company is currently at that point. But again, if we don't put a stop to it now, it's going to become a major problem for all of us in the next 2 to 3 years. And I see the trend happening, and all of those honest people are, if we don't educate them, they're still thinking they're being honest. But it like I said, all in all, it's going to become a big issue. So what I did was I created this program called SnapShield. All right. And what this does is it is a custom code that will go into your platform. Guys, there's going to be a lot of caveats, a lot of disclaimers here, right? This is a big situation. So again, I don't want to mislead anyone by any means. This doesn't work for every platform. It works for platforms that have HTML. It's been heavily tested with Got Photo, obviously, because that's what I use. We've been beta testing this for about 3-4 months now. Those people that have beta tested it have loved it. I've got other platforms like Cytist, Captura, other platforms that are interested in integrating, and so I'm working with them to get this integrated. So again, I have a feeling this is going to grow very quickly. So nonetheless, what we're doing here is we're using blackout functionality and blur protection, as well as consent pop-ups to kind of help protect the images. Again, big disclaimer. We will not be able to fully stop screenshots, especially on mobile. There are privacy laws with the mobile companies that you cannot detect a mechanical press. So when somebody presses the power button and the volume button, that's a mechanical press. That's typically how you take a screenshot. You can't detect that, but that's why we have the blur function here. All right, so I just kind of want to go through the website, pretty briefly, and then we'll kind of dive into the code and how all of this works. All right. So again, here's the website. Here's the two main ways to do this. So on desktop, if you choose the blackout mode, they're not even going to notice anything's changed. All they're going to know is that if they press any buttons that or if they try to take a screenshot, it's going to black out all of your images. So the blur activation is optional on mobile. I do feel like this is a little more intrusive, so people might not like this as much. But if they take a screenshot, they're getting, half of the image is blurred. So, again, because we can't fully prevent a screenshot, the next best thing is to just blur half of it. They click a little button, they can see the top half. So obviously we know the problem, we're working on the solution, and then this is how it works. So there's templates you're going to create. It's going to give you an embed code, and then you just copy and paste that into your HTML header on your platform. So again, you do have to have that custom code availability or HTML availability in order to do this. So again, this is kind of the blur. So you can see that the bottom of it is blurred. So if I click on this button, now you can see the top. All right. Now I know the first question people are going to ask: why couldn't they just screenshot one, screenshot the other, and merge them together? Well, they could, but the way that I built this out, there's a strip in the middle, about 10% of the image, that's still going to be blurred. So no matter what, it's always going to be blurred. We've run this in ChatGPT. It will merge the two together, but it's going to take your player and really shrink them. Still changes faces, all the things. So, and none of the AI removers can fix it because there's nothing really to fill the gaps, right? So it's done really well with that. Here's the pricing structure. We have two different tiers. One is just that protection, right? It's going to give you the blackout, the pop-ups, and the blur. The protection plus gives you reporting, and I really think that's kind of the meat and bones of this. So like I said, let's go ahead and dive into the actual program itself. I'm going to go ahead and get logged in here, and we'll show you this backend. Okay, so now I'm logged in to the back end of the platform, and again, dashboard's very simple. You can see subscription status. You can see how many embeds I have, total number of events. This is a little inflated because of testing and such, but I'm going to clear that out so I can get a true value. How many captures I've detected, and just getting started, picking subscriptions and plans and all the things, right? So we do have a monthly, and I set up a yearly as well. So I do feel like this is fairly priced, given obviously what it's doing. So essentially what you do is you start out here in the templates. All right, so creating a new template, there's a couple different options for your template type. And what this is there's a checkbox and then a consent button. And I'm going to show you guys both of those, but the checkbox, the user, so the customer is going to have to select that checkbox in order to move forward. So that is the only option. If they click off of it, whatever it is, it whites out the screen. And so this is great for like I consent to monitoring, and I consent to not screenshot these photos. Boom. They have to consent to it. Otherwise, it will not let them move forward. Period. All right. The consent buttons is more of a I agree or I disagree. So if you wanted to add something at checkout for let's say a model release, right? Well, I don't want them to be forced into consenting to a model release. So that gives them the option, yes or no. It'll record that on the back end for you, but it will also allow them to move forward if they decline, right? So title, obviously this is just the title of your template, and then this is the message that you want to be displayed. So for instance, if I was doing my checkbox, so they have to click it to move forward, and then my message is I agree not to screenshot any images, and I understand that this site is being monitored for such behavior, right? Again, guys, I'm not going to give you legal advice. I put in here what you want to put in here. Apparently, I can't spell, but yeah, to me, this is a big part of this entire program. Again, is education. So now, not only do they know they're not supposed to screenshot, but they've consented to it that they're not going to, right? So then I go ahead and create that template. So I've got a couple here, no screenshots allowed, and then I've got my model release template. So now we go into actually generating that piece of code. So what we're going to do is go to create new embed. And so this is going to be our embed. So again, you can just name it whatever you want. And then it gives you two options for those pop-ups. So this is going to show you the templates that you created. So I've got my no screenshots allowed. I have my model release, right? So if I want something to pop up on the opening page, I just select that template. If I want something to pop up on the checkout page, I select that template. And then you'll set up your domain here in your settings. So that'll auto-populate there. So whatever, if you've got a custom domain and your Got Photo domain, again, I'm going to talk about Got Photo just because that's what I'm most familiar with, but always use your custom domain, otherwise it won't work. So you can always update it here in the settings. So again, there's your domain, and then again, that'll just auto-populate here. So going back into this, so we'll just do our test. And then you select your different buttons on what you want to be put in there. And then you give it the mode that you want for desktop, right? So if you want just blackout, so the blackout mode again is if they try to take a screenshot, it's going to black out the images, but they can't see anything. There are workarounds to this, okay? So for instance, they can still snip, right? Yes, they can take pictures with their cell phone, like take a picture. We're not gonna be able to stop that, right? So again, out of fairness, but it does remove right click, some of the easy paths to that. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with that and you want something a little more to protect, then go with the blur, right? That's gonna give you the toggle off and on to be able to see your images. And then you have the option to turn off the mobile blur as well. But just know that it's not protected on mobile at that point, right? So, and then you'll go ahead and generate your embed, and then it creates this code right here for you. So then all you have to do is copy that code, and again, for Got Photo, you go into your online shop, and here's your code. And this may look a little different depending on which version you're using. If it's the older backend version or the newer backend version. But then you just go ahead and paste your code in here and save it. And then you're good to go. It's live, it's working. It is for the entire shop. But I know for Citus, we're trying to work on individual galleries, so you can have different verbiage and such. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull open a gallery, and I'll be right back, and then we'll kind of go and see what this actually looks like. All right, so I am right here where the quick login is. And so I've got I've got the blackout in there first. I'm gonna show you both of them. Just so that way you can see how both work. And so again, going to the quick login. So this is the login that the parents would see. Instantly you can see no screenshots allowed. I agree not to screenshot, record, or download these images prior to purchasing. I understand that the site's being monitored for such behavior. So again, it's going to force me to agree to those terms because that was the box I selected, and then I can continue. So when I go to order photos, you can see there's no difference. This is exactly what the customer would normally see. But when I go to press to take a screenshot, everything blacks out, right? And I'm clicking right click right now. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I'm right clicking on the screen. Nothing's popping up, right? Again, there's caveats to this. I could still go in and snip, but I can't actually take a screenshot. So my advice is, again, like in my case, I don't think this is happening a ton, and I don't want it to be any more of an inconvenience for my parents than it already is with, the watermark, because, all the parents complain about the watermark. So this is what I'm going to start with, is the blackout, because I don't want them to see any difference unless they physically try to take a screenshot. The best part is, every time I press this to try and take that screenshot, it's being recorded and sent back to me. So I have a full reporting of that. And so then I can evaluate and say, whoa, this is happening a lot. I need to switch to the blur. So again, that's just my advice. I like the blur because it's more protected. I don't like the blur because I feel like we're going to get some pushback from the parents. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. But again, it definitely protects it more than the blackout does. But this at least gives me a starting point of being able to see whether this is a real issue or not, right? So I want to show you the second part of this. So if I go into and just, I'm just going to go to checkout. So go to my cart, and now when I proceed to checkout, you can see I built in a model release for this specific one. So model release, yes, I consent to having my child's photos used. I can agree or disagree, and it's going to let me continue through checkout. So I'll just go ahead and agree, and as you can see, I can go straight into checkout. So that's the first kind of portion of this. So I'm going to go ahead and log out here, and then we'll just go through the whole thing so you can see it. So here's my blur template. So I'm just going to copy that code, and then I'm going to pop that into Got Photo, and you can see this is live time. So now when I go, again, it's going to ask me for that consent. Yes, I consent. Now when I go to order my photos, you can see the bottom half is blurred. When I come over here, I can see the bottom and it blurs the top. Right? So again, I go to buy my photos. I can swap those out. And if you notice, it actually does change the sizing slightly just to kind of offset that too. But same situation, right? If I go in, I add that photo, I can go to my cart, I proceed to checkout. Now I'm going to disagree just so you guys can see the differences. And then let's go back to SnapShield. So under my events, you can see right here, everything we just did was all recorded, right? So this was the first one, I think. Yeah, one of these was the first one. So gives me the time, gives me a timestamp, gives me a date stamp. Again, it actually pulled the access code for me, so I know who this was happening with. It tells me what the event was. It was consent given. This was probably the consent given on the that was a consent given for the model release. This was consent declined for the model release, right? So I get all of that, and then I get screenshots. Now these are empty screenshots. Again, there's privacy laws, so we gotta be careful with that. But I can see the page that they were trying to screenshot, so that's helpful, right? Here's the best part. It actually links it directly to their IP address. So there's really no getting around this. And so if I notice, right, okay, there's screenshots attempted, what I can do is come over here and send this to evidence. All I have to do is press that one button, and now I can come over to evidence and I can see every access code that was attributed to that IP address, as well as all of the violations. I guess I shouldn't call them violations because some of them are consent given, right? But it is triggered in red, and all of the screenshots that we took as well from SnapShield. So again, to me, this is the power. It's the reporting. The protection piece is great. I don't want to discount that, but the reporting is the gold. To me, this is the piece where now we take ourselves out of the defensive role as photographers, put ourselves back in the offensive seat, and now we know what's going on in our business. We don't have to speculate. We don't have to worry anymore. It gives us that peace of mind. So, yeah. So this is kind of, a full breakdown of what this is, right? And so, again, just going back, just a quick overview. So the Capture Plus gives you the logging, the IPs, all of the reporting, and the Capture Protection just gives you those pop-ups and the protection. But you're not going to really know what's going on. But if you're not worried about that, then the Capture Protection is totally worth it. So, but yeah, I mean that's kind of a wrap on the program. So like I said, guys, I hope this helps. And we got to get our industry back. So, but anyways, I'm going to jump off here. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, you know where to find me. And yeah, I would be more than happy to help. And yeah, I just hoping we can finally put a stop to this. So, all right, y'all. Talk soon. See yous.